what's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. This is going to be a meetup video. I'm really late to post this one, and I apologize, Billy. He came through about, I guess it's been about a month and a half now, maybe a little bit longer, on his way to spring training. So before all this coronavirus madness, obviously. He got here around dinner time. We went out to dinner. Then we got up that Friday morning pretty early and went straight to the record stores. Spent the whole day digging. Had a great time. Ran across some really cool stuff. So just want to show what all I grabbed during that trip. As soon as we walked into the first record store, which is one of my favorites, it's called Comeback Vinyl. Billy went right to the country section. I went right to the mixed rock, metal, whatever section. And he found this, and this is an album I didn't even know existed. And showed this one to me, so I had to grab it. But this is Willie and David, which is, of course, Willie Nelson and David Allan Coe. And the funny thing about this is then he got home a couple weeks later, and he's going through his record collection, cleaning stuff out, and realized he didn't have a copy of this himself. So thank you. I'm not sending it to you. Then as we were digging through, I ran across this. I love this early era of Bob Seger. This is right in that transition period between Bob Seger's system and the Silver Bullet Band, both of which I like. I've always loved this album. I have an original pressing that's in really nice condition, but this one's a little bit nicer. This is a later 70s reissue, but this is Smokin' OPs. From Bob Seger. Really good. It's cover songs. He does Bo Diddley, Love the One You're With, If I Were a Carpenter, Hummingbird, Let It Rock, Jesse James, Someday, Heavy Music. Well, Heavy Music is not a cover, but really good. While we were there, I also grabbed Sinners Like Me, which is a Eric Church reissue. It's one of the only Eric Churches I didn't have on vinyl. And then Comeback Vinyl, what makes it really special, and I've talked about this before in videos, they have a really good audiophile section where they sell analog productions, mobile fidelity. There's 4 or 5 really high-end record brands that they sell there. And I try to get at least one audiophile pressing every time I go. And each time I've gone the last few months, I've grabbed one of the Cars albums. I still need Candio, I believe is the last one that's been released that I need. But so I grabbed the debut, which amazing album. Let's see. The other cool thing about Comeback Vinyl is if you pre-order anything online, you get a 20% discount. They don't mark up the price of MoFi. Whatever the MSRP is, that's what they sell them at. So, for instance, I believe those were $35. You get the 20% off of that. So you get really good deals if you pre-order through their website. And right now, that's what they're living off of. They're doing basically curbside. So you do your order online, drive by, they bring it out to your car, and you drive off. So I'm going to be going up there this weekend to pick up the new Twisted Sister, the new Jason Isbell in the 400 unit, and I believe that's it. I have a couple more pre-orders that aren't quite in yet. But and then the last thing I picked up while I was there was Acquiring the Taste from Gentle Giant. A little bit of 70s prog there. I think this is their second album, if I remember correctly. I haven't heard this one yet, so looking forward to that. From there, we went to a CD warehouse. The CD warehouses here are hit or miss. I've gotten some really, really cool, really high-end records, or really high-dollar records from the CD warehouses for really cheap. They don't really have a high-dollar market, so you'll see $150, $180 records there for $40 or $50 just because that's the market that they have. So like I said, I've got some amazing stuff there over the years. The first one we went to, we didn't find anything, nothing special. From there, we went to Mojo Vinyl, which used to be a favorite of mine. I don't go there as much anymore. I am really good friends with the owner. They just don't get the selection. Basically, once Comeback Vinyl opened, and it's about 5 miles down the road, more people go there to sell their stuff and to trade. So Comeback has kind of taken the business from Mojo, which kind of sucks. But so Comeback Vinyl's kind of become the high-end shop, and Mojo's kind of the mid-level, which is fine. I still like going there about once a month. So Billy and I went in there. I didn't find anything. He got some really good stuff. If you go back and watch his videos, he got a really cool Johnny Cash reel-to-reel tape. And a couple of really nice country albums. So he had some good scores there. Nothing for me, though. From there, we went to my other favorite store, which the situation was kind of funny when Billy realized it. It's called Sunset Waterloo Records. And it's at the base of the Atlanta Braves stadium. And when I say it's at the base, the gate to the stadium is about 100 yards from where the record store is. So we went in there. We got quite a lot of stuff. I got a few albums from there. He got a few albums from there. Let's see. I got 4 albums from there. This is another really good spot because their rent is so high, being in the stadium, or in the Battery is what they call it. They're constantly looking for high-end collections, and I've got some amazing stuff. A lot of the German and European pressings that I've gotten are from there. A lot of the really cool singles I've gotten are from there. Just a really good shop, and we found a couple cool things. And actually, these are all German pressings, I think. Come to think of it, maybe all but the last one. So a couple years ago, myself and the Metal Theologian got into a discussion about krautrock. And I was looking to get into, or to check out some Can albums. I was at a record store and I called him up to see which ones he recommends starting with. And I got a couple that I really dug. And I remember him, I asked about some other bands that I may be interested in. And one of them that he mentioned was Jane. And I had never seen a Jane record. I finally ran across one on this trip. This is Between Heaven and Hell. And this is an original German pressing on Brain. Super clean. I don't know if you can see the price. $14.95. So I haven't spun it all the way through that night. I just kind of sampled through it really quick. Really, really heavy. Very much kind of a hard prog, I guess. A hard kraut rock. Really killer, though. Really happy to have found this. And to have found an original pressing on Brain Records is even better. And then I found a couple of metal albums. This one, it looked like metal to start with. It's not a band I'm familiar with. It's Killer, and it's Lady Killer, a German metal band. This is from '81. So really looking forward to spinning this one. And then I know I've got at least one album from Picture, more on the hard rock side, if I remember correctly. Again, a German pressing, though. It's got this little hologram on it. And it was some kind of archive exemplar is what it says down here in the corner. I don't know if you can see that. It's got an archive number on the back. I've already run the heat gun over this. It's going to come off pretty easily. But really nice promo copy of Diamond Dreamer from Picture. And then last but not least, an upgrade. This one is still not in perfect condition. And I'm trying to think where this pressing is from. This one may be a U.S. pressing. I can't remember off the top of my head. So yeah, a U.S. pressing of Bad Reputation from Thin Lizzy. One of my favorites from Thin Lizzy. So Still not a perfect pressing. I'll find one eventually, but a nice little upgrade. So from there, it was time to pick up my daughter from school. I had to pick her up by 6 o'clock. It was about 5:30. So we went to pick up my daughter, and then we had about an hour to an hour and a half before my wife got off of work, so that we could leave my daughter with her and then go to one more record store. And on the way home, I decided to stop at one of the antique malls, and I ended up finding a couple of really good albums. Billy found two, but one really nice one that he found was the John Prine self-titled album, which I'm sure the prices have gone up now that John's passed away. But that was a really nice find for him. And I ended up running across a couple too. I got Let Them Eat Metal from the Rods, one of the only Rods albums that I was missing. And then a really nice upgrade copy of Rogue Mel First Visit. I think I got these for like $12. Oh, this is a promo copy too. I don't think it was a white label. I think it was just a gold stamp, but let's check. No. Look at that, white label promo. What's funny is I think my other copy is a white label promo as well. So from there, we came back to the house and dropped my daughter off, came back to the house, called my wife. She told me to drop my daughter off at one of our friends' houses. So I did that. And then we went to the final record store of the night. It's a record store that's probably closed now. I think it was supposed to stay open till the end of April, middle of May. And that one was Albums. Unfortunately, the owner of Albums and the guy who ran the store for the last 15 years or so passed away maybe October, November of last year. I believe it was his kids that were running the store after he left, and it's just they've lost the customer base. Once he passed away, a lot of people stopped going. So they announced about 2 weeks before Billy was here, or before we went, that everything in the store was discounted. All used records were half off, and then all new records were 25% off. So I wasn't expecting to find much there, simply because the sale had been going for 2 weeks. I was shocked with some of the stuff I found. We ended up finding some good stuff. I don't remember what Billy found, but I was pretty blown away by what I was able to get a hold of. Now, there were two records that I really went there for. It's two original pressings from this band that I just thought were overpriced at $35 or $38, whatever they wanted for them. That's probably a pretty realistic price with the value. I just wasn't willing to pay it. And getting them for half price, that's really what made me go to this record store. But I ended up getting Framing Armageddon from Iced Earth. Iced Earth has become one of my favorite metal bands. If you haven't checked out Iced Earth, they're amazing. It's very sad that they're not as big as they should be. They're one of the best metal bands out there today. The way they mix thrash and power metal and the storytelling is just phenomenal. Just an amazing band that's just never blown up. They don't have a bad album. Every song is amazing. This album right here is actually probably their weakest album, and it's still a good album. There were two albums with Ripper Owens on vocals. This is the second one. The first one is one of the best albums of their career. And then Barlow came back into the band, and they released The Crucible of Man, Something Wicked Part 2. So I was able to get an original German pressing of that as well. So that made my trip completely worth it. So then we were flipping through, just looking through what else was left. I ended up finding this one. This is one I've wanted for a while. I got this for $10. It's not in the best condition, probably VG to VG plus, but you never see it. So I went ahead and grabbed it. I'll just hold on to it until I find a nicer copy. But this is The Strongest Power from Leviticus. And on Pure Metal, I buy anything on Pure Metal Records. I don't think there has been anything released on Pure Metal that I'm not really a fan of. So we got talking about Blackfoot, Billy and I, and he mentioned the Rick Medlock and Blackfoot album from '88 or '89. Let's see what year this was. I didn't know this. '87. I didn't know this existed. I thought Blackfoot was done by this point. I don't know how many members of the band. It doesn't look like there's anybody else from Blackfoot in the band other than Medlock. It looks like everybody else is hired players. But I have everything else from Blackfoot. I decided to grab this and check it out too. And for $5, couldn't pass it up. So that's Rick Medlock and Blackfoot. And then last but not least, I still can't believe this was still there. This is a lot of people would mark this at Grail status. I'm a fan of Suicidal Tendencies and XL and Beowulf. Not to the point that I would call this a Grail or that I would ever spend big money on this. But at half price, it was definitely worth it. This is the Welcome to Venice comp. Really killer comp. You got a couple songs from Suicidal, Beowulf, Los Psychos, No Mercy, and then XL. It is a killer comp. But those not being favorite bands of mine, it's one of those things I've always wanted it. I've just never thought it was worth the money it was going for. So to get it at half price, it was worth taking a chance and grabbing it. That was it for our digs. From there, we went to Five Guys, had a really nice dinner, and then Billy had to crash because he had to get up like 4 hours from then to head to Florida and meet up with some other friends. But he also brought me a couple of gifts. The first one is Coulter Wall and the Scary Prairie Boys, 45. Luke Combs, one of the best country albums of last year. Very much a 90s country sound. Really dig this one. I wasn't expecting it to because I wasn't a huge fan of his first album. There's songs on his first album I really like. But he was kind of straddling the fence between bro country and 90s country. And I thought it sounded like it was a Nashville guy trying to sound like he was not a Nashville guy. And I still feel like that's what he is. I still feel like he was created by the record companies, which is fine. This album's a lot better though. Walmart did an exclusive on Clear Blue vinyl. I looked everywhere for it. It sold out everywhere, and Billy was able to find a copy for me. So super stoked about that. He also brought me this Jimi Hendrix Mr. Pitiful. A little, what do you call them? Picture disc comp. Marillion, Clutching at Straws. One of the few Marillions I didn't have. So there we go. And then last but not least, just an absolute classic. You never find these in good condition. They're always beat to shit. This one's really nice, but from 1973, Entertainer of the Year from Loretta Lynn with the song X-Rated, which is just phenomenal. That's it, guys, though. Take care. Subscribe. Leave comments. Tell me what you think. And I'll see you soon.